Okay, I want to talk a little bit about methods for identifying issues and concerns. Um, it's important that we have clear goals and objectives. It's important that everybody understands what their role is within that. It's important that everybody has ownership and buy-in on all of those. It's also important that we have mechanisms in place where people can raise issues when they identify something as not working correctly, or even perhaps there's an opportunity for improvement. And those mechanisms need to be accessible so that people can easily hook into those, but they also need to be encouraged. They need to be endorsed by management and by us as leaders to say these mechanisms are in place for you to use, not because we're ticking a box, but because it's important. So just bear that in mind as I talk through these. So when we think about good, robust methods for identifying issues and concerns, the type of methods that we're talking about are things such as suggestion boxes, and they can be old school, um, uh, a box in the corner. Although I'm not a big advocate for that, but the concept of suggestion boxes. So things such as a common SharePoint page or an intranet page where people can through an anonymous login or some type of anonymity make suggestions or raise issues or concerns that they have. That can be, as I said, on an online platform. It can be a whiteboard or notice board in a common area, or it can be the old school um, um, input box in the corner of the tea room or something like that. Roundtable discussions, where as a team we may be able to raise issues in a safe and in a supportive environment. So not an environment where I can be concerned as a team member. I'm concerned that if I raise an issue, I'm going to get shot down or everyone's going to gang up on me. But that I know that there's a genuine culture of wanting to identify issues and wanting to work through them. So things such as roundtable discussions, such as meetings or team get-togethers, are really powerful for that. I hear lots of managers and leaders talk about having an open door policy, and that's really important. But open door policies are more than just saying to people, "Oh, I've got an open door policy and you can come in." It's really about encouraging people to come in and speak to you when they have a concern. And what I mean by that when I say encourage people, it's not only about letting them know to say, "Look, if you ever have any issues or any concerns, or you just want to talk about something, come and see me." But it's also doing things such as when they do come and see you, that you do stop what you're doing and you give them 100% attention. Um, you do make eye contact instead of continuing to look at your screen or whatever it is that you're working on. And those are the type of indirect symbols that let people know that you are interested in what they've got to contribute. That is important. And you do encourage them to come and see you. Too often and I'm sure you can reflect on this in your own experience, too often you see leaders and managers that say, "Oh, yeah, I've got an open door policy." You go to talk to them about an issue and they're too busy focused on what it is that they're doing. And you know that they're not giving you or your issue their full attention. Now, look, as a manager and a leader, I got to say, there are times when you don't have, you're working to a tight deadline or you have other priorities. But in that case, close your door. Don't say you're open door, have an open door when you haven't got the 100% commitment to that. Making sure that we have the correct conflict resolution processes in place, and I'll talk more about this in the next slide. But things like grievance procedures and so forth. Having and as I talked about earlier, some of those suggestion boxes can be like having a whiteboard in a common area or a notice board where people can post ideas and suggestions or comments, or an discussion forum such as an intranet page, a SharePoint page, and so forth, and all those different types of meetings that are listed in that last point. So these are all common approaches or methods for encouraging people to identify those issues and concerns. And of course, as people identify issues and concerns, making sure that we act on them, making sure that we do work through clarifying what all the issues are, get into the root cause of the issue, and then working with those people on a plan of attack. Collaboratively, like with our performance plans, work in getting ownership and buy-in, work on identifying the tasks, work together to identify who's going to do what when, how we're going to follow it up, and so forth. So that's when I talk about a culture of genuine um, genuine encouragement of identifying issues and concerns. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about a positive culture for that. Where those symbols and those behaviours are in place, that people know that it's genuinely going to be accepted. That contribution, rather than shot down or given lip service. Now, it's much easier to sweep things under the carpet, of course, as a manager and a leader, but it just means that it gets kicked, the can gets kicked down the road till tomorrow, or it festers further. It does take time to address issues and concerns, but as part of it's part of a continuous improvement methodology and approach. It's going to make our team better, and it's going to make the performance of the team better. And then thinking about these procedures that we put in place, systems to be put in place for raising concerns and issues. Systems and procedures such as a grievance procedure, where it's documented on what steps to take, and those steps are easy to follow. They're not convoluted. There's no abnormal hoops that you got to jump through. It is as streamlined and as simple as possible, so that people can raise a concern in a way that is safe, it's supportive, and it's going to encourage them to do that. Also having procedures in place like regular performance review cycles, whether it's 3 monthly touching base, 6 monthly formal reviews, or 12 monthly cyclical reviews, but having those embedded within your performance management system, where there's a requirement to sit down with them as a manager and your team members to review performance. And as part of that, asking those questions, what are some of the issues that you're facing? What are some of the opportunities for improvement that perhaps you might be able to identify? Also, as I mentioned in the previous slide, regular meetings, and they can be team meetings where we encourage people to put issues forward, or one-on-one meetings. And in this case, having those procedures in place about how we run those team meetings, how we have agendas in place, how issues are captured, how minutes are captured, and how minutes are reported on. They don't have to be too formal. I mean, we don't want to get lost in the weeds here. Every business has a business of doing business, whatever that is for you. So you don't want to lose focus of what it is that you do in business by getting tied up with bureaucracy and through process. But it is having those key points in place. And sometimes it is in our procedures to say, we have regular meetings. There is a formal agenda that's sent out. That formal agenda might just be an email letting people know, these are the 6 topics that we're going to cover off. This is the purpose of it. Does anyone have anything they want to contribute to that? And then after the meeting, do a follow-up, say, this is what we agreed upon. And in this case, it'd be a follow-up email. Say, this is what we agreed upon. This is who's going to do what, and this is what we're going to, and this is how we're going to review those outcomes. And then making sure that we have procedures in place for record keeping, and that might just simply be that when an issue is raised, it needs to be documented so that we can identify what the issue was, what the actions were, what the outcome was, and how it was reviewed. And the results of that, and whether it's through the grievance procedure, whether it's through performance reviews, or whether it's through meetings like I just talked about with agendas and minutes, having a commitment to making sure that we've got a footprint of what it is that we're doing, and we'll talk more about that through the program. But that aligns to our sense of objective management, evidence-based practice. But it also aligns to things such as data collection, when we think about, these are some of the issues, this is what we've been working on, has it improved our performance, and so forth.